Plum each, happily ever after, every wish upon a star. Let's break down the movies that shaped who we are, from memory lane to now and everything in between. The most famous of films to the ones we've never seen. Decade by decade, all the times we laughed and cried, and with a little pixie dust, they will all take flight. Reliving the feelings, and we're trying our very best. And if they mean the same to you, please be our guest. So hop aboard, we would love to have you as we hang with a certain mouth, the whole gang too. If you love nostalgia stuff, we hope this does the trick. Thanks for joining us as we deep dive the magic.
Hi, and welcome back to the Deep Diving the Magic podcast. I'm KJ.
And I'm Jeffrey. And we are back again today with a special bonus episode. And if you can't tell, our location might be a little bit different because we are on location down in Walt Disney World.
On our watch-throughs, we have frequently talked about things in the movies that remind us of the parks.
And since we are down here at the most magical place on Earth, and because we've hit a milestone episode of having completed the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, we decided to show you those references.
Since we are a completist podcast, we will be showing you short little clips of the 43 films that's got us here so far.
Some of the references will be very obvious, some a bit more of a stretch, because let's be serious, we've watched some obscure ones so far.
As we continue to journey through the 1960s and beyond,
we'll keep looking for references for more bonus episodes in the future.
Here's some quick clips from our favorite parks that tie the films all together and make them special.
Get ready to deep dive the magic of Disney references. So first, over at the Magic Kingdom in Fantasyland, there is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, which is a reference to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It is a fun roller coaster that always warrants long wait times, as you can see here. It is a fun, wild ride through the mines, and at the end, you get to meet the characters from the ride in a cute little scene before you exit.
And there's a nice little photo op.
That's right. Next, we have Pinocchio, who, again, in Fantasyland at the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, has his own little restaurant called Pinocchio's Village House, which is overlooking It's a Small World with a nice little window that overlooks. And I do believe there is a book for wishes to the Blue Fairy.
Yes, there is. It's over by one of the doors.
Yep.
And then you have a reference to Fantasia over at Hollywood Studios if you go watch Fantasmic. So you can see Jeffrey's favorite nighttime show.
By far.
I would have to say out of all the nighttime shows, it's probably my favorite as well.
Get there early and get ready to be blown away and maybe get a little wet, but it's worth it. It's better than the movie. Next, we have a reference to the Reluctant Dragon. Reluctant Dragon is kind of a little bit of a stretch, but the movie itself is a film about the making of films. So, what better reference than the statue of the movie maker, right down the main drive in Hollywood Studios in front of the Chinese Theater.
Then you head over to New Fantasyland and you will have your reference for Dumbo, where you see circus-themed designs, and then if you look at the ground, you'll see little peanuts. You can ride Dumbo. There's different colors, and just keep in mind, it is the worst queue ever.
It's true. That queue is pretty rough, but it is a nostalgic ride for sure.
Yeah.
Next, we have Bambi. And Bambi was one of the harder films to find, but there is the Fab 50 statues still. And as we see, there is a statue in Animal Kingdom. This is our first stop for a reference in Animal Kingdom, and it is of Bambi and Thumper and Flower.
I don't think Flower's there.
Well, Bambi and Thumper,
Yep.
right in front of the Tree of Life.
Yep.
And next we have Saludos Amigos. Saludos Amigos brings us over to Epcot. And Saludos Amigos is a celebration of South American culture and Mexican culture. So what better reference than the Mexico Pavilion at Epcot, as well as there is a good scene here where we see airplanes and Goofy. So we have the Barnstormer.
Speaking of airplanes, we then have a reference for Victory Through Air Power. I actually thought this one was going to be a lot harder to find reference for, but we actually found two, surprisingly.
Yeah, one in Walt Disney Presents, and then one at Rosie's All American Restaurant in
Hollywood Studios. Oh, and then we have the three Caballeros, which obviously have their own ride in the Mexico Pavilion at Epcot, where you can see Donald and his other two amigos.
Having a little concert for you at the end of the ride in some of the most nostalgic and I would say best animatronics in all of park wide. Here's a little video of them in there underneath the fireworks. It's wonderful. Next we go over to Make Mine Music, which is a film with a couple different shorts, and one of the shorts is Casey at the Bat. So we see here that Casey's Corner right next to the castle. And then as well as in the queue for Mickey's PhilharMagic, we see Willie the Whale finally performing the opera. Next we have Song of the South, and as we talked about when we were filming, that there's not very many references left to Splash Mountain or Song of the South, but in the queue for the new Tiana's Splash Mountain Adventure, there is a reference to Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear in the form of little porcelain figures.
And then we have Fun and Fancy Free, where I don't remember the name of the store. Do you remember the name?
It's called Sir Mickey's.
Okay, so Sir Mickey's, and then you see Willie the Giant peeking in.
Hiding right behind the castle in Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, he's technically, I think he's behind the register too.
Yep, he's peeking his way in. Next we have Melody Time, and in Melody Time we meet Pecos Bills in one of the shorts. And in the Magic Kingdom there is Pecos Bills Tall Tale Inn Cafe, which is a cute little quick service restaurant right next door to Country Bear Jamboree, as you can see right here in the sign. There he is hanging out up there. Next we go over to Hollywood Studios, back to Walt Disney Presents, where there is a model of the house from So Dear to My Heart, Walt's
Granny's
favorite
house.
movie. That's right, as well as a sign on the wall of Walt filming So Dear to My Heart. It's a nice little homage in there. Next we have The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, where we start off at Sleepy Hollow Refreshments at the Magic Kingdom. As well in the Magic Kingdom, in Liberty Square, we have a projection of Ichabod himself in one of the windows. Then we go over to the theater on Main Street, where we see Mr. Toad himself, as well as Mr. Toad's final resting place in the exit queue for the Haunted Mansion.
And then staying in Magic Kingdom, we go to the girl who has everything, and she has this huge castle at Magic Kingdom. And there we are. You can also eat in Cinderella's royal table. We've never done it, but maybe we should. And then behind the castle, you can find this little statue, and depending on how you look at her, she has cool different views, so look at it.
Right. Then we go over to Treasure Island, where we were not sure about finding references, but we were lucky enough that there was a display talking about the film in Walt Disney Presents in Hollywood Studios that dives deep into the film, as you can see for the poster right here.
And then back for Alice in Wonderland, back to Magic Kingdom, you have the Tea Party.
Mad Tea Party Spin.
We have a fun story of us riding that on our honeymoon. We did not get sick, though, just so you know. But we did spin it as fast as we could, and we have never done it again.
That's right. Everybody always smiles on that ride, though. But
yeah.
Then we go over to the story of Robin Hood. And nothing describes Robin Hood more than archery. So if you go over to the Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground, they offer archery, the wilderness archery experiences. We unfortunately got there after it was closed, so as you can see the sign here, located behind the trading post
Yep.
In the bike barn, you can sign up for archery.
If you're 7 and older.
That's right.
And then for one of Jeffrey's favorite movies, Peter Pan, in Magic Kingdom, Peter Pan has his own ride, Peter Pan's Flight. It has a cute little queue. I think it's a little overrated for how long you have to wait for it, but if you do have to wait, the queue does make it at least worth your wait.
And you get to fly. Next, we go over to Epcot for movie number 21, which is The Sword and the Rose, which starts off with the restaurant in the UK called The Rose and the Crown. And speaking of swords, if you go over to Norway, you can find the hidden sword behind the waterfall. Again, some of these might be a little bit of a stretch because you watch this film.
Then you go over to Hollywood Studios again, and you can find the reference for The Living Desert, one of the true life adventures. And then there's also at Epcot,
In Living with the Land.
Living with the Land, you can see several of those.
Speaking of films that have a stretch to find, we have Rob Roy, The Highland Road. In Rob Roy, they quite frequently are fighting for their name and their crest. So over in Epcot, again, they have the Crown and Crest store for a reference.
And then you go back to Hollywood Studios for the Vanishing Prairie reference. You can see the True Life Adventures thing. And then back to Epcot on Living with the Land, you can see the little prairie scene where it always smells like orange chicken.
It's a great scene. Probably my favorite scene of the entire ride. Now, we have 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Now, I know that there's multiple references to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea at Walt Disney World, whether it's in Winnie the Pooh or whether it's in The Little Mermaid, but we were lucky enough to find this entire exhibit over in Hollywood Studios in the One Man's Dream section. So if it's still there, go check it out.
And then for Davy Crockett, if you go over to Fort Wilderness, you can check out Crockett's Tavern and get yourself a drink and something to eat.
That's right. They have their little bar is called Crockett's Tavern, Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground.
One of our favorite places to check in.
Absolutely. Next, we have the Lady and the Tramp, and right when you enter onto Main Street in the Magic Kingdom, there is the restaurant that is themed to Lady and the Tramp, but more importantly to us, there is a very adorable feet in the concrete scene here that you can see right on the ground.
All right, so for the African lion, if you go to Hollywood Studios, you can see the reference for the True Life Adventures again. And then over on the safari at Animal Kingdom, you can see lions if you are lucky.
That's right, the actual African lions. Next, we have the Littlest Outlaw, where we got lucky with this reference because when you are riding the Grand Fiesta Tour in the Mexico Pavilion, you get lucky enough to see a boy from Mexico riding a horse, which if you've seen The Littlest Outlaw with us, you know is a film about a boy from Mexico riding his horse.
And he actually does it through a festival where the animals are getting blessed, so
That's true.
legit.
Next, we have The Great Locomotive Chase, movie number 30. And there is no better reference to a locomotive chase than Walt's favorite, the railroad, that goes all the way around Magic Kingdom. And here it is on Main Street. Next, we have Davy Crockett and the River Pirates, which brings us to the Rivers of America, which may be changing soon. But if you look here on the Rivers of America, right next to Big Thunder Mountain, we see where the Mike Keel boats used to be home to, and we see a message from Mike Keel painted on the roof here.
And then back for the True Life Adventures, The Secrets of Life. If you go over to Hollywood Studios, you can see that reference for all of the True Life Adventures. And if you just look around, I'm sure you'll find bugs. We found this one in Epcot. We won't tell you where it's at because it's maybe not supposed to be there.
That's right. So we have Disney Bugs.
Disney Bugs.
The Secrets of Life. Disney Bugs. Next, we have the Westward Ho! The Wagons, which is in Frontierland. It's a film pretty much about frontiers and Frontierland, but right outside of Country Bear Jamboree, there is Westward Ho! Refreshments. So stop in there for a refreshment when you're in Frontierland.
All right, and then Johnny Tremaine. If you go back to Magic Kingdom and Liberty Square, you can see the Liberty Tree that has its 13 lanterns. It's really cool.
It has much less lanterns than in the movie when they hang up a bunch of lanterns.
Yeah, I was waiting on that tree to catch on fire in the movie, but definitely a little bit more historically accurate in the park there.
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of Liberty in that whole Liberty Square, but definitely the Liberty Tree.
I believe this
for
is the
Johnny
original
Tremaine.
tree, right? From the park when it opened.
Yep.
And then over back to Hollywood Studios, another true life adventure movie, Perry. And then anywhere in the parks, you will see squirrels.
Here's a squirrel running around.
Disney squirrels.
Squirrel running around the World Showcase at Epcot.
And they do not go for the acorns there, even though they are abundant in the fall. They just go for food that people drop.
That's true. So then we have Old Yeller back in the Walt Disney Presents, as we've jumped back to a lot over in Hollywood Studios. There is a nice little sign and display about this classic Old Yeller. So if it's still there when you're there, stop by and check it out. And we have the Light in the Forest. Again, going back to Magic Kingdom and the Rivers of America, there is this scene that you can see right here. Rivers of America is changing because they are making way for more attractions and more retheming coming soon. But get down there while you can and check out this scene for this great reference of the Light in the Forest.
Then another true life adventure reference over at Hollywood Studios for White Wilderness. If you also jump back over to Epcot and ride Soarin', you can see this beautiful scene where there's plenty of polar bears like in the movie. And one of my favorites here at the end of this clip. Sorry if it's a little warped. We did not have the best seat in the house for this.
And then we have Tonka. And Tonka, we know, is about horses and the love for horses and the fighting for horses. So what better way than going back to Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground for the Tri-Circle D Ranch, as well as the horse from the Tri-Circle D Ranch. Here it is on Main Street pulling the Dapper Dans.
And then Sleeping Beauty. We are not at Disneyland, but if you go over to Hollywood Studios, you can see the replica of the castle in Walt Disney Presents. And then back to Fantasmic at Hollywood Studios, the night show. If you're lucky, you can see Maleficent take form of a dragon.
Next we have the Shaggy Dog, which again brings us back to Walt Disney Presents, where there is a great display on the wall about different films of the era, including the Shaggy Dog. Speaking of the era, if you pop into 50s Primetime Diner, it's straight out of the movie. The theming is fantastic. Next, we have Darby O'Gill and the Little People, which we happened to stumble across this one on a ride that we've ridden hundreds of times. But over in It's a Small World at Magic Kingdom, there is a great leprechaun scene. And who else talks about leprechauns than at some Irish pubs like Raglan Road over at Disney Springs. And the final movie of the 1950s was The Third Man on the Mountain, which again brings us over to Magic Kingdom and It's a Small World, where we see the Swiss Alps and a hiker, as well as one of our favorite Disney mountains as well, and that is on Soarin', when you can see this peak. Would you climb it?
Sorry for it being warped.
That's right. Then it wouldn't be this podcast if we didn't show our love for our dear friend Fess Parker. And there is Fess Parker's handprints in front of Beauty and the Beast live on stage at Hollywood Studios. And you know that we do love our Disney apples. So poisonous or not, we found another one. Actually, there's a bunch of them over at the confectionery on Main Street.
Yeah, have your fill. Lots of options. And then if you go over to Epcot and ride on Living with the Land, you can see a Disney storm.
And then lastly, as referenced many times on our podcast, if you could please email us at deepdiveinthemagicpod@gmail.com and tell me what the point of this little door is.
We hope that you enjoyed our dive into the early films and the references around Walt Disney World.
And we hope you learned something and nothing was too far-fetched.
We look forward to seeing you as we continue our journey through all the films until the future, while compiling more references along the way.
Thanks for deep diving the magic.
Bye.
Bye.